Chris Avena with another episode of the American Outdoor News Podcast. I'm here with Craig Sawyer for uh, Vets for Child Rescue. Craig, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, it's a privilege to be on, Chris. Appreciate the coverage on this important topic.
Well, it's really a vital topic, and your background, I think, fits in uh, really nicely to what you're doing now. Now, you were a SEAL.
Yes. Yeah, I spent 13 years in the SEAL teams and started off at SEAL Team 1, then ended up at DevGru out on the East Coast. So I was grateful to be able to operate and serve next to such amazing warriors.
It's grueling training that you go through. How has that helped you transition from special ops into Vets for Child Rescue?
Well, it's overwhelmingly, we believe, divinely designed for what I do now. And so what I like to tell everybody is the reason I founded Veterans for Child Rescue is that I learned that child trafficking is essentially a covert operation being run domestically here in the U.S. at industrial scale. All those three aspects about it are true. And it's a physical crime harming children, but it is a spiritually motivated crime. And that'll freak a lot of people out if they're not Christians, or if they're not familiar with what these people in witches' covens or satanic cult groups do to children and why they do it. So having been a federal criminal investigator after I was a Navy SEAL, I learned to go and investigate all of the elements of the crime, all of the available evidence from every source to try to gain a totality of circumstances, understanding of it to arrive at the best truth. And in investigating these crimes against children, we have learned increasingly that it is absolutely a spiritually motivated crime. And what you're looking at here are the fallen angels from Genesis 3 and Genesis 6, literally waging war on mankind. The Bible is true, and it's ancient. It goes all the way back to there, and the children are the most high value target. So what you have at the end of the day, you've got weak-charactered men all around the globe who will do anything for wealth and power. And what they find when they go into these secret societies that JFK warned us about, they realize at the top of these secret societies, they are Luciferian in nature. So if the guys want wealth and power, they want to be in the big it club that George Carlin talked about. It's a big club and you ain't in it. That's what he was talking about. That's what JFK was warning us about with these secret societies. And they are, the center of their culture is really around the, in a lot of ways, unspeakable cruelty and harm that they do to children. So that's the biggest reason why so many children are being trafficked, why they disappear, why they can't be found, is because ultimately a lot of them are either organ harvested and or ritually sacrificed. So as gruesome and morbid as the motive and the end state that happens to a lot of the children is, I got to tell you, Chris, the overwhelming beauty is in those who are freed, those who are able to escape, those families, because a lot of this is done inside of these families globally. It's a familial crime, meaning it happens within the families. The parents do it to their children, and they have other people do it to their children. A lot of times the children are sold into it as well. So we brought over a bunch of Nazi scientists after the end of World War II in an operation called Operation Paperclip. And it used to be called a conspiracy theory. Now it's very strongly evidenced fact. We wanted their rocket scientists to head up NASA, which they did. And we wanted their psychologists for the CIA and DOD to learn, I believe, how to get the most out of prisoners that we captured, and and to train our spies to not be able to be interrogated and give up information. Well, in all that was what we learned from the Nazi scientists on the what we now call the MK Ultra and the Monarch and other mind control programs. Those are all trauma-based programs, meaning they take the children because it's easier to do it to children. They horrify them, and they split their minds into multiple different personalities through the horrification and the torture of the children. And then they program each of those personalities like a different person. If people think of it as a bunch of different, complete personalities within one mind, that's what happens. And so the abusers masterfully program each of the personality parts to do different skill sets and tasks that they go send them to do. It could be drug running, it could be murder, it could be prostitution or porn. They use those personality parts for that so that the person's frontal mind, their main personality, doesn't even know or remember that they've done these things. And so I started learning about this from a friend of mine named Russ Dizdar, who used to help law enforcement before he passed away in Ohio and Pennsylvania, where a lot of these Operation Paperclip scientists had settled their families. And in those two states, this type of practice against their children is very pervasive. And so law enforcement would show up at a crime scene and see a bunch of bones in the living room, a shrine of bones, and ask Russell, what does this mean? Is this person into something weird? And he would come and have an assessment and go, oh yeah, this person is into a certain type of the occult. Here's what it means. Here's what you can expect to find in their case and in their contacts and in their evidence and all that. So I started learning about this very weird culture from him, who had to just deal with it practically with law enforcement. And that's what we do. Now, we run joint sting operations, Chris, with federal, state, and local law enforcement all across the country. We now have 53 child predator arrests and about 160 warrants. And so I say about because you never know for sure how many have been, those warrants have been executed and arrests have been made over the years around the country, because they don't always call and tell us that the arresting authority is not always privy to who made the original case on them. And so we find out sometimes on an operation that the arrests have been made there recently, and we're like, okay, well, let's celebrate that win. So that's what we're doing, man. And we just got back from an operation in West Virginia late last night, and they haven't run much of this there. So we had predators of all types come and try to get children. And sadly, some of the predators, we had more females respond in this operation than we ever had in the last 9 years that we've been running the Vets for Child Rescue.
Wow.
And we believe the reason why so many females are responding to try to obtain children is to feed their husbands, to feed the monster, the children that he wants to sexually abuse, lest it be their own children. So
now, are these groups more cult-like than demonic spirituality, or what's the makeup of them?
We're finding every manner of it. I think if you look at it from a big picture, macro lens of you're in a spiritual war literally between the kingdoms of good and evil, the creator and then all of the fallen ones. Then you could see where there's so many different flavors all around the world. There's all kind of little small occult groups and covens and they all do it a little bit differently, but there are templates and there are high seasons of certain lunar times in the lunar cycle when they have a heightened activity and more rituals and they believe they get more power. And there is a level of power that they get from this that the general public's not aware unless you really start to research the people that have come out of that community and the studies and the investigations. And there is a level of power there, but it's so ugly, Chris. And it takes such horrifical horrific behavior to bring about that power, and the power's temporary, and it's always very costly. And so what they have to do is they have to do more abuse, and I don't want to get too morbid, more abuse to more children to keep powering. It's like any addiction, to keep powering up the temporary power that they get, and then they end up in such darkness they can't even return and see the light, and they don't even, they just become horrible people, and with horrible results all around them. Go ahead, sir.
This goes way beyond like Epstein Island.
Yeah, but that's what was going on with Epstein Island. Now, there was one witness that came out from the inside that said what they were doing there was, and I don't believe this has been made public yet, it needs to be, is that there was a breeding program there where the visitors were, at least in some cases, I don't know what percentage or if it was even all of them, the visitors were mating with essentially enslaved young teenage breeders who would breed the offspring for the visitor, and then whatever they were doing with that, I don't know. I don't know if they were using stem cells from the offspring or if they were doing. I don't know what they were doing. I won't speculate on it. I know the types of things that the victims have described to us that we've interviewed that have come out of the satanic ritual abuse realm is that there's a lot of early rape. I'm talking about straight out of the womb rape in diapers, and it's gruesome and it's unspeakable and it's evil. But by doing that evil, the abuser gets temporary power for it. So there's a lot of stuff that they do with the blood and the DNA, and it's all an abomination before the Creator. It's despicable. Nobody should ever be engaging in that. So that's what we're learning about, increasingly exposing. But, as a federal criminal investigator, I bring the factual evidence of what I have that I could prove in a court of law for real convictions in court of law. So that you're like, yeah, this guy did this thing because here's all the evidence that demonstrates that it's true. And so,
well, I know the Trump administration, at least in the first administration, was behind breaking up these pedophile rings. Is that still the case?
I believe it is. It seems like there's a lot more effort now. Certainly in the last administration, what we had was a deliberate betrayal of the American people. It was treasonous. He opened our borders and tied our hands, figuratively tied the hands of our Border Patrol and law enforcement to allow a massive flood of many millions of criminal invaders so that they may vote the way that the global elite want them to vote, which is, it all goes back to a central global government that is of a Marxist model. And in that model, there is no United States. There's no sovereign country anywhere. They dissolve sovereignty. That's why they're flooding all the countries with the different demographics. One world order. They talk about it in their World Economic Forum and their Bilderberg conferences and in their Agenda 2030 paperwork and all that. It's not theory. It's what they're after, and it's all in that direction. So, it's gotten a lot better. Down on the border, we used to be down there for a 24-hour period and see maybe 2 Border Patrol vehicles all day and all night. Now you can literally see one Border Patrol vehicle from the next. So if you drive down the dirt road next to the big wall that you see, the wall is up almost everywhere. They've done a fantastic job of that. And then you can, by the time you pass one Border Patrol vehicle, you can already see the next one. So there's a lot of vigilance and protection on the border. But sadly, what I do understand is there are also gaps that are agreed to by both sides. So you got the Mexican drug cartel and the international terrorists coordinating with the CIA and the FBI and the administration, the presidency, apparently, where drugs and humans are allowed to be trafficked through those gaps. So there's arrangements, almost like a diplomatic immunity kind of thing. So
Wow.
that's disappointing and disgusting to learn about. But on the whole, it's much better. So
Now, you had mentioned as a culture. I know you see, and I know it's not the case in every case, but like in like these Islamic radicals marrying children.
yeah.
How do we combat something like that? If they're bringing their culture here and they're trying to force their culture on the American public, how do we battle that?
Well, in order to do that, you'd have to have a leadership with the will to enforce our culture and our laws and require that immigrants assimilate into our culture as we once did.
Yep.
That's no longer the case. So they come here and they build entire kingdoms like they have just north of Detroit, Dearborn, Michigan. You walk in there as an American patriot, you're not going to be safe and you're not going to be welcome. So why have we allowed that? That's a new world globalist, new world order, global Marxist, Luciferian development. The enemy of the United States has developed a kingdom in Michigan, in Dearborn. And if you don't believe me, go there and just drive through and you tell me how it goes.
If you, spots in Texas.
Yeah. They mean to yes sir. They've got that giant, is it a Hindu god? They have a giant statue. It's like 100 feet tall or something in Houston, Sugar Land.
That was the Crusades.
So
the Crusades, we fought against Muslim radicals. Well, the English fought against the Muslim radicals. We're seeing that here. We're seeing in England, seeing in France. They're playing the long game. They're
absolutely playing the long game. They're targeting right now. I just went to a movie premiere of a documentary. I remember the Alamo, Don't Islamify My Texas. Well, in that they demonstrate all the evidence of the Islamists directly and deliberately targeting Texas first. If they can overthrow Texas and Islamify Texas and bring Sharia law there, the rest of the states will fold because Texas is perceived as the biggest and the boldest, much like the United States is for the globe. As goes Texas, so goes the United States, and as goes the USA, so goes the world. So right now, Texas is under an invasion and assault over our culture. So they want to install Sharia law there and then checkmate the rest of the globe. And we obviously don't have the national will to resist or stop it. So it is happening, and it's happening at a disturbing rate right now as we speak.
So what are the biggest misconceptions that people have about human trafficking, child trafficking, things of that nature?
I think one of the biggest ones is that it's happening somewhere else and that it's only a third world problem. That's what I tend to believe before I learned about this and started Vets for Child Rescue nine years ago. And what I'll tell you is, no, it's here at least as much as it is everywhere else. It's just more covert here. The crime is more sophisticated in that, and I don't mean that in a good way. I mean that there's so much corruption that this evil enjoys a lot of top cover here. So you have a globalist billionaire, I won't say his name, but his initials are George Soros, who funds the, let's just call him George because that's his name. He funds the campaigns with district attorneys, judges, and attorneys general to get them in those elected seats with the secret agreement that they will not prosecute crimes against children. That's, folks, that's such a glaring conflict of interest. The fact that that's allowed in our country should be an all-stop red flag we should stop work. We should stop all systems until we get that corrected. Our DOJ and our judicial system is utterly broken until that gets restored. And it's that way. It's been discussed in open congressional session, and nothing's been done about it. So under that, we're losing. We, the American people, are losing everything because you got MS-13, Crips and Bloods now trafficking children like they would have trafficked drugs. You've got parents selling their children. You've got children selling themselves and selling each other, tragically. And then you have the Mexican drug cartels selling children. And then you've got Health and Human Services under the Biden administration, a federal agency contracting companies like MVM out of Northern Virginia to illegally and covertly smuggle children in covert flights deep into the interior of the United States at night, into airfields like Chattanooga, Tennessee, after hours when it's highly illegal to land after midnight. They land at 2 and 3 in the morning with a bogus tail number that's changed every flight with vinyl graphics and with a bogus manifest that says cargo instead of souls, and 30 children are taken off the flight and shoved into POVs and buses who race out on a highway that's not patrolled during that window of time due to the corruption, the local corruption, to facilitate this industrial scale crime. That's why I say it's at industrial scale. I'm not exaggerating or mixing semantics here. I'm telling you what the evidence is of our investigations and what the American people need to know. So what's the good news? The good news is we, the people, have the power if only we will link up and rise up and assert ourselves as patriots and citizens, as is our duty, frankly, our civic duty, to overthrow corrupt aspects of our government, to throw the bums out when they're betraying us, to prosecute them, to set an example and a deterrence, and to allow the people to enjoy justice, because the American people are starved for justice, and it's demoralizing for our nation. So Russian KGB defector Yuri Bezmenov said, hey, part of fifth generation warfare is to demoralize the population through such failures and continued betrayals and division and deceit, so that they could destabilize our populace, destabilize our nation, and easily overthrow us without a single shot fired. That is what we are suffering right now. That is happening. Our nation is being overthrown. All the global digital currency and everything that's going to allow them absolute control, it's being ushered in place by this president right now. And along with all the others, they're all in the same globalist program, and we got to realize they're not on our side. They may do temporary things for a temporary benefit, but unless these high-level subversives that are directly operating against our nation, like Hillary Clinton and George Soros and these others, unless they're put away irreversibly in prison and stopped, then nothing's going to change. As soon as this president's out of the White House, they will continue destroying the United States at industrial pace. So it's an emergency situation. We just don't see it yet. So the world's friends of mine in the intelligence community say this: we're precariously perched right now, and it looks peaceful still until it absolutely breaks. But if it falls off, it's going to go very bad very quickly. So we get to change it.
So the radical left pushing these socialist agendas, is that all part of this?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's all part of the plan to destabilize our culture, usher in every manner of perversion and injustice and division. You have to hate me and I have to hate you because of whatever difference they can issue to us. Mm-hmm. And then because we hate each other, we're divided, we're not proud of what we have, and we'll give up our freedom without a single shot fired in our defense.
They need a new target every quarter to point their fingers and say, that's the bad guy, that's the one that's the reason for your misfortune.
Yeah, exactly. And we have to realize the Hegelian dialectic that's continually played against us: problem, reaction, solution. So they, being the global Marxists who have the most wealth and power around the globe, they're Luciferians and they are pedophiles. They sexually abuse and torture and ritually murder children. So they're not good people, and it's their agenda that they craft in their think tanks to issue out to the public. I know a guy from the CIA who was the guy to go around issuing, and he was in a group that was sent around the globe to disseminate the narrative. And it was to podcasters. They weren't really podcasters yet at that time, but it was radio, it was television, it was music industry, and big Hollywood issued to them, here's what you're going to promote. You're going to promote the perversion. You're going to promote racism. You're going to tell everybody that they hate each other and that they're all the victim, and they need to rise up and riot and protest, and there needs to be all this horrible stuff. They issued drugs into the culture to destroy families. They wanted to take the mothers out of the home, put them in the workplace so they could get the children into the state-run institutions to program them very early on. He read that high-level message traffic in the CIA, that was their agenda with the women's lib program. So everything's done through deceit, Chris. You know, they say, we want to liberate women. Well, we all agree with that. Yeah, empower them. That's not what it really is. The title is misleading. What it really is targeting the children. Get the protective mama bear out of the way, out of the house. Get her away and get her exhausted, and then get at the child and start programming the child and abusing them. Get the father out of the home by paying the mother to have children without a daddy in the picture. And it's health care, it's welfare. No, it's a targeting. You just have to understand what their end goal is, and then it becomes clear.
Well, we're seeing that in the educational system now. They're programming these kids at a very young age and not teaching American history, because when we went to school, we learned American history, and we're seeing history repeat itself right now.
Yeah.
And that's what they don't want them to see. You ask a kid on the street about basic American history, and they won't know a thing about it. Yeah, and that's very sad.
You're right, and knowledge is power, and that knowledge is being hoarded away by the global abusers. So, yes, learn American history, but yes, learn global history. Yes, learn what the Bible says about everything. Because if you know the Bible, you're not surprised by any headline now. A lot of the populace, they're stunned when they see a headline. We're not. We're like, of course it is. We knew that was coming. The Bible said it was coming. And furthermore, in addition to the Bible, the books of First Enoch and Jubilees exposes a whole lot about the big agenda and the history of it and how it all fits together. So those are all helpful. Knowledge is power. Get you some. Don't let them hoard it away from you and keep you dumb so that you're easily abused.
So what are the warning signs that a parent should be aware of?
Well, you're not going to have a warning sign if they get your kid. A lot of the kids they bring from other nations across the border illegally and through shipping containers and everything else and covert flights, but they also body snatch children off the streets still. They target single moms very heavily through Child Protective Services, sadly enough, which is usually a state-run entity. And that's been corrupted in some states. Some states, I think they're still doing pretty good work. Other places like Arizona here, it's particularly bad. They're horror stories. So they'll target a single mom and say, we're the authority, we're deeming you an unfit mother, and we're going to put your children into the foster care system. The mom never sees the kids again. And the child goes from foster care home to home to home, and then eventually off the books as a runaway, and nobody checks for the child. The child's been taken, sold, raped, murdered, organ harvested for big money and big demonic ceremonial power. So that's what we need to know. Get in your children's phones. Go to v4cr.org, our website. Make sure you know which apps are problematic and how it works to protect them. And then invade their privacy to the degree that you have to ensure that they're okay and they're going to live to adulthood. and not be
Now,
traumatized.
shifting gears a little bit, you also own Sawyer Tactical.
Yes, sir. So, in my tactical background, I had utilized a lot of equipment. I modified a lot of it, and I paid a lot of attention to what I had and what I wanted. And I developed a knife that I'll show you here for those who are watching it. It's called the Stab, the Sawyer Tactical Advantage Blade, and it's exactly the knife that I wish I had as a SEAL operator. It's got 17 tools incorporated into the design. It's made out of a very, very high quality, high end steel, and a tungsten glass punch on the rear of it. It's a great tool that I believe all law enforcement and military would love, and any other man camping or guy that likes knives. I don't see how you could buy a better blade than this with more utility and function than that. So that's at sawmantacticalblades.com. I appreciate anybody that buys those, and I know it'll serve you very, very well. So I appreciate
now,
you.
That was
My
your
call
SEAL
sign.
name?
Yeah. And that started, frankly, on the playground in elementary school, and then became my nickname through high school football and everything. So that when I went into the military, my call sign became Sawman. It was just natural, organic. It's due to my last name, Sawyer.
How do they come up with some of these names?
Yeah. People that think that it's some sort of morbid chainsaw analogy, in wartime. I'm like, no, there's nothing like that. It was just Sawyer's my last name, so they took the first part of that and played with it.
All right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to speak to us today and enlighten us on what a lot of people think about, but they don't know about. How do people get involved with Vets for Child Rescue?
Yes, sir. Well, we've got a lot of tools and options on how you can get involved on our website, v4cr.org. That's the number 4, so Victor 4 Charlie Romeo.org. If you go there, surf through all of what we're doing through the tools and the options, and pick your own method of getting involved. Again, I encourage everybody to get involved civilly. That's why the global communists are such big community organizers, because they're recruiting the dark side at the community grassroots level. We have to counter that and recruit people for good. Instead, if you want freedom and liberty, you don't want global Marxism, folks. That's a tyrannical, demonic New World Order model. So the good news is, again, we have the chance to fix it and run it the way that we want our country to run, and our founding fathers wanted it to run. So there's the beauty. So let's get at it.
So we need to get out and vote this November, vote in your
Absolutely.
primaries, vote in the upcoming election, and it all starts locally. So
Yes,
vote
sir.
in your local elections. It's going to help us down the road.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. 100%.
All right. Thanks again for taking the time to speak to us, and go to the website, make a donation, get involved, and keep your eyes open.
Blessings to you. Appreciate the coverage. We'll see you.
Thank you.
We love our children. We protect them. We guide them. We prepare them for life in the world. With all that we do, from deep in our hearts, we cannot control all things. Life-threatening illnesses and disabilities affect far too many of our children each year. While we cannot change the circumstance, we can make dreams come true. Dreams to provide hope, to provide spiritual healing and strength, to provide moments of happiness and relief in the hardest of times. We can give a glimmer of light and hope in a time of darkness and despair. Join huntofalifetime.org to help make dreams come true, to provide hope for children with life-threatening illnesses and disabilities. Hunt of a Lifetime is a nonprofit organization fulfilling dreams for hunting and fishing trips to youth 21 and under with life-threatening illnesses and disabilities. Visit huntofalifetime.org to learn how you can make a difference.